Why South Sudan? An Every Village podcast where we answer questions about the world's youngest nation. The question of the day is, what do churches look for in partnerships? Hey everyone, this is Tiana Johnston, and I'm the host of this podcast called Why South Sudan, where we answer a question about the world's newest nation. And so this one, I know I say it every time, is really special, but this one is very, very special because we have a special guest named Ashley Goad in the studio.
Woohoo!
Hey, Ashley.
Hello.
So happy you're here.
Hello. I'm so happy to be here. Thanks for inviting me.
Okay, I know I probably shouldn't say it on episode 54, but you might be my favorite guest.
Oh my goodness. Likewise. We had a really good time on my podcast.
I know, this is so great. Okay, so first, I want to introduce you just to kind of the audience who you are. So Ashley Goad. So you actually work at the Woodlands Methodist Church, and they are actually a partner with us here at Every Village, which is a huge blessing. But I met you 3 months ago, when you just stepped into this new role.
Yeah. I think I was 3 weeks on the job.
Yes.
Yeah.
And it was
you were
so
one
good.
of my first that I actually met in person and shared a meal with.
It was fantastic. And it was great. And we hit it off.
Immediately.
It was so great.
It
It really
good.
is this kindred spirit.
Yeah.
Yes, I love it so much.
So good.
Yes. So I'm so glad you could be here.
Thank you.
And answer this question, but would love to hear just like a little bit of your story, a little background. Definitely mention your podcast. Definitely want to give it a shout out.
Yes.
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 So who is Ashley Goad?
Oh, that's such a good question. Well, I hail from North Carolina, which I often say is the best state in the Union, the best state in the Union. I grew up there. I grew up at a church that my family planted in 1773.
Wow.
So I grew up Quaker, great, awesome group of people. My mom still goes to that church. I love that church. They instilled in me in a very early age what service looks like and what being in the body of Christ looks like. And so missions was just a natural thing that I loved. And so at 16, I went on my first mission trip, fell in love with that family so much that I ended up moving in with them after college. So I lived in Mexico City for a while. And just a great experience of seeing Jesus. And I think that's where I really fell in love with Jesus, was in the mission field. And so he revealed himself to me in such a powerful and loving way, so compassionate, and I loved serving. So I think I felt the call to ministry pretty early in life and knew that missions was a great place that I wanted to land. I loved working in Haiti. I worked with a solar-powered clean water ministry, and it was just so good to be amongst the Haitian people. They taught me so much about humility, about compassion, about companionship, about just the gift of time and spending time together. So after a couple of years, I ended up at a church in Shreveport, Louisiana, and being their pastor of missions, and got to create that ministry of what it looked like, global and local missions. And so after 11 years there, I hated to leave there because they gave me a husband too. So I got married while I was in Shreveport, but he so graciously moved with me to the Woodlands, and here we are.
Pretty crazy.
Crazy.
Oh my gosh. So you are the missions pastor.
I am the pastor of missions at the Woodlands Methodist Church.
I love
in
it.
the Woodlands, Texas.
And fantastic. And you are actually doctor.
Is
it Dr. Reverend? Reverend Doctor.
I think it goes Reverend Doctor.
Wow.
Yeah.
Reverend Doctor.
So
Ashley Goad.
awesome.
It is wonderful.
It really is cool. So I got my doctorate it's called a Doctor of Ministry in Leadership and Global Perspective. And I studied with a university called George Fox, which is a traditionally Quaker school. And but the great thing is I never went to that campus to study. I studied in London and in Cape Town and in Hong Kong. And my cohort, which is just shout out to, the Global Perspective cohort number 4, but there were 13 of us, and most of them were not from the U.S. So we had one from Colombia, one from Puerto Rico. I guess that's still the U.S. One from Uganda, one from Ethiopia, one from Romania. It was just so great. We learned so much about each other and about serving this world and bringing the kingdom of heaven on earth.
Oh, that's beautiful.
Yeah.
I mean, even to get a degree in something that just gives you so much passion, you know, like you already so excited about it, but just to be able to study that's incredible.
Incredible.
Yeah.
Yeah. My advisor was from Kenya, and it was so great to walk that journey with him.
That is awesome. I love that. I even how when me and you met, I mean, anytime that you live overseas, you just immediately connect so much. But it is your heart for missions that I just love so much. But your heart for Jesus first and foremost. Like your faith is so evident, and I love it.
Yours as well. The joy just kind of like exudes off of you. It's so good. It's contagious.
I know we might laugh a lot in this one. It's okay.
It's good. Yeah, I think we should.
Oh, it's so good. Well, I really don't think there's anybody better to answer this question. And also, I would just love your perspective. Granted, we have other church partners and, you know, churches view different ways.
Right.
But would love to hear yours specifically. Just what do churches look for in partnerships? What do you look for when you're wanting to partner?
So the great thing about living in Shreveport and working at First Methodist of Shreveport is I came in and they said, we want you to create our missions ministry, especially on the global end. The local end was doing really well, but we needed some transforming. So I started my doctorate the same time, like the same month I started at First Methodist Shreveport. And so my doctorate and my dissertation ended up being, what is partnership? What does that look like? And so I identified all these gaps in partnership, like there's the concept of time, the concept of what does it mean to be together, the concept of transaction versus transformation. And we really got into several of those things as a mission committee, like what is it that God is calling us to do? We wanted to be different. We knew that missions was rapidly changing after when Helping Hurts came out. So how could we be on the other end of that to bring balance to the relationship? And we really focused in on those things of we wanted it to be a transformation. We didn't want to do something for someone. We wanted to walk alongside partners in ministry. And that's what it looked like for us. We didn't want it to be a contract of you give us this. We wanted to create a covenant relationship of this solemn binding promise between us so that we could walk through life together. We know that missionaries and mission organizations so often feel so alone and so isolated, like they're just trying in the grime of it every day and trying to just go through life and fix their area of the world and live into the calling that God has placed on them. And that's hard. It's difficult and it's isolating and lonely and people burn out so quickly. So then how we as a church, how could we come in beside them and say, hey, we're in this with you. What is it that you need and how can we go about that? And so every partnership ended up looking a little differently because it was based on the person that we were in partnership with. So some it looked like us sending teams over to help with the ministry or the project that they were working on. For others, it looked like actual family support of we're going to go visit our family and live with you and just be family for a while and give you that rest and that support and encouragement that you need. And some were church planters, so it looked like us being there for the big services during the year so that they could feel supported and know that we were behind them as a sister church. And, you know, for even others, it was other things. Anyway, so yeah. So I think that each relationship is different and you have to treat it as such, because as soon as you try to just check the box or as soon as you try to say, okay, this is our boxed approach, then it all goes awry. So one of the things that I'm learning as I'm coming into this new relationship at the Woodlands Methodist Church is we have so many partners. There's 146 ministry partners. I keep saying that because I'm just like, I can't even believe it. So I haven't been there 4 months yet. My 3 months that I've been there, I've been trying to meet with everyone one-on-one. And the purpose of the first meetings is just simply to hear the heart of the ministry leader. So whether it's the missionary, whether it's mission organization, but who is that person? What is the heart behind that person? What is the calling behind that person? We'll get to what they're doing later, but I have to really know who that person is. And I think that's important for all of us to know, is because I think we can treat each other as projects and we can treat each other as a job to do, but it's important to see the person sitting across from us as opposed to, the other things. We have to be present with each other. We have to share time together. Sharing a meal together really breaks down the walls too. So that's kind of what partnership looks like to me is being present with one another.
Gosh, that's so beautiful. I mean, as you're talking, I'm like hand clapping in the air. I wish I had a button that was like preach. Because it is so good. And I do think not a lot of churches operate in that way. And I think that is such a beautiful thing, because it is very true. Like, we're running hard after South Sudan and believing this is what God has called us to. But to have people support us and come alongside and not just be a transactional relationship, just as we want to treat our supporters very similar. But in that, I mean, for a church to come alongside and be like, hey, we believe in you and we're with you in this, and you recently sent an email out, we're trying to do like Zoom calls and, wanting to meet, and even for a missions leader or pastor wanting to even go, I think that's even a rare thing too, because they're busy, here in the States and stuff like that. But I think that's just something I admire about you, that you're like, I want to go. I want to visit these 146, missions.
Honey, I'll never see you again, but yeah.
He's so wonderful.
He is. He's so great.
But for you to even be willing to go, I mean, you were just in Guatemala last week.
Yep, sure was. Yeah.
And then in December, you'll be in
Panama.
I
think so.
Yeah.
Ecuador and Colombia in first part of January, and then Tanzania the second part, and then Honduras in February. Maybe somewhere with you guys soon. I don't know. Yeah, April will be. I've got March just kind of set aside just in case, you or Blake give me a call.
Yes.
I forgot where April was, but I know India's in there somewhere now too for September, I think. And
that's amazing. That is so awesome. It's really cool to see. I mean, even just how God, I mean, he pricked your heart with missions at 16. You were so young.
Yes.
But I mean, even just to carry it out as you've done it.
It was so funny too, because Will Bailey, who's the co-host of my podcast called The Broken Banquet, and we talk about missions, and but he picks on me all the time, because I'll tell him that, that very first trip that people were looking at me and just being like, what are you doing? You're just sitting here talking to people. Like, we have some work to do. And I'm like, yeah, I just don't feel like I'm called to do that. People will call me lazy. Like, his workers in Costa Rica will call me lazy all the time. You're the boss, el jefe. And I'm like, oh boy. but I just love hearing the story. I love meeting the people. I love understanding the culture and the context and how we can learn from each other's differences, because that's, I think, the unity in the body of Christ that's woven all throughout the world is just incredible, and we have so much to learn from each other.
Yes, I totally agree with that. 100,000,000% so much. And I agree that it's all about relationship, and I feel like that is the heart of God. Like when Jesus was walking through the villages and everything, he saw people. He really saw people. And I think a lot of times we can miss that. And even what you had mentioned earlier about, just like the financial side, or it's a project, that we miss the heart of God when it turns into that. And I feel like there is such a humility and just a desire to stay pure in heart and just humble before the Lord. But I know that it starts with prayer. It starts with each of us, humbly going to the Lord. But I just wish I would love to see so many more churches operate in that way. And I'm so grateful that God brought you to the Woodlands Methodist Church so much.
I hope they are too. I don't know if they understand what they've gotten themselves into, but hopefully we're going to grow together.
I love it. Yeah, you're like a wildfire. I feel like you just like come light a match and you're like, here we go.
Let's go, Holy Spirit. Let's go.
Yes, it's so good. Well, even just the way that you grew at Shreveport, for you to have that like platform to say, hey, let's dream. What can this be? What can this look like? Is so beautiful. So I always love to look at stories because you just see God's hand in it. Like you just see how he woves it together. Like it's so, so beautiful.
Yeah. And many churches are looking for a good book too. Freeing Congregational Mission is written by Hunter Farrell. He's out of Pittsburgh Theological Seminary. And he wrote an incredible book to kind of walk local churches through what partnership could look like. So
that's
really,
so good.
Really phenomenal. Yeah.
That's so good.
That was my plug for you, Hunter. I hope you can hear that.
Yes, Hunter. Hello there. So as you've traveled to so many, have you already met all of the 146 partners?
No, I'm on 67 out of 146. Yeah.
Holy cow.
67.
Wow.
I'm
that's a
making my
lot.
way through. I mean, again, haven't even been there 4 months yet. So I feel like all I'm doing, all I'm doing is either sitting in front of a screen or having people come to my office. And we haven't done a lot of meal sharing, but I've definitely been fixing cups of coffee. So
That is great.
That's something. Yeah.
So as you've been you've been all over. You've been all over the world. Is there maybe a favorite trip or a favorite location or maybe the most impactful, could you say?
Tiana, that's like choosing your favorite
I
child.
know.
Haiti will always hold a special place in my heart because in 2011 I met a boy named Mac and fell in love with him and he became my son. So Haiti holds a special place. Oh, in 2022, while I was still at Shreveport, what we were seeing was all of our ministry partners. We had 10 families that we just loved and adored. And we started thinking, what if we'd introduce them to each other so that they could learn and grow together? How could that affect them to give them even more longevity, more encouragement? So we hosted a retreat in Tuscany, as you do, rented out a big villa.
Incredible.
Hired a couple of really sweet ladies to cook for us the whole time. And all of our mission families came together with their kids, spouses, everything. All came together, same place, same time. And we spent 14 days together.
Wow.
And it was probably the closest I have ever seen to the veil between heaven and earth being so close.
So beautiful.
Languages just going differently. People meeting each other that I've known, but they didn't know each other, and seeing my friends become friends, seeing our partners become friends. And it was just a beautiful thing.
I love that.
So that was a pretty meaningful experience to see all those cultures and languages and people come together. My first trip to Africa was pretty incredible because you have this preconceived notion of what Africa is. And so it was Uganda, and that was one of the most beautiful, wonderful things that I think I've ever experienced. Just the red clay roads, the pineapple fields, the people and their hearts for God. It was beautiful.
I love that so much. Yeah, it is hard. I do agree. It is so hard to pick.
Yeah.
Especially because, they're just so uniquely beautiful and different. And you're also so open to learn. Like, you just want to learn and you want to take in and see the beauty that God has for each place. And, yeah, I just love your heart, the way that, that you're leading the church. And I know church partnerships, they look a lot different for a lot of different places. But, I hope many churches listen to this because this was so great.
Yeah, thank you.
Yes.
Thanks for letting me chat.
Absolutely. Well, it's been a delight to have you here. Just a delight.
A delight.
I love it so much. Is there any last thoughts that you would like to share? You hit, I feel like you did a heavy hitter.
I got nothing.
That was great. I loved it. Well, I love your model. I support it fully. I think it's fantastic. And we're just so grateful for the church, so grateful for the Woodlands Methodist Church and what God's doing through them and connecting them to us, and now you being part of us too.
Thanks, friend. Thank you. I'm happy to call you a friend.
Yes.
Thanks, friend.
For sure.
Yeah.
All right. Well, we invite everyone back to the next episode as we answer the question, what are some of the basic facts about South Sudan? Take care.